Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back here to our channel, Light to the Nations, to this portion. We're going to begin in the book of Daniel. It's a blessing, that we are going to study a new book in the Word of YaHuWaH. An important prophet, as you all know, that is bringing a lot of prophecies for the days we are living, these last days. So we hope in YaHuWaH that this new cycle we're beginning today, is going to be a blessing once again to all of us, and that the Ruach of Elohim is guiding us in everything we're going to do today and in the coming portion of this book. So we welcome all of you today to this new Shabbat. We really hope that you are having a blessed Shabbat, a time that you are enjoying in the presence of YaHuWaH, a time that you are rejoicing, you are renewing your energy, that you are disconnecting somehow from the day to day, and most importantly, a day that you are connecting with the most important person in this creation, and is the person of the Creator, the Maker of the heavens and the earth, our Father in heaven. So thank you so much for joining us today, and for your love, for your support, and also for the love that we see in the chat with all of you. We always are so glad to see the interaction between all of you, and especially the love that it's easily to see, is in every word, in every phrase, in every statement. So thank you so much for that.
When you were starting, I was thinking that you were going to say, "Welcome to Loud to the Nations." I thought that you were going to say that.
Yeah. I don't know what I was going to say, actually.
But maybe it's, I was thinking maybe it's because we need to hear maybe more loud than ever the word of YaHuWaH, the things that He is speaking to us. Every word that we have been praying that He can give us even more wisdom, more of His wisdom, because we need that. We need that. We have maybe read the words, we have read the books before, but we need a deeper understanding, especially now what we are seeing, what we are living, so He can help us in every step that we are doing right now, that we are taking in this path that is so important. So I'm thinking that He's speaking and He wants us to speak more loud than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing something. This 2026 is
Louder.
is going to be, is already an interesting year. We know that we are following a different calendar, the calendar of YaHuWaH, but also we're keeping an eye on the day-to-day activities and in the way the world is measuring the time. And we know already that many things are happening, and we can be sure that more things will happen as the time pass by. So, Lilian and I, we decided to begin this cycle just with chapter 1. And we were having some doubt if we do also chapter 2. But the reality is that chapter 2 is long. It's 49 verses, and it's so, let's say, dedicated to the dream of Nebuchadnezzar, or Nabuchodonosor. So we decided to keep just chapter 1, that is really important and really interesting in itself. And actually, we didn't see a clear title as we read the chapter. And so we decided, to pick this statement. I think it speaks a lot of what's happening in the story that we are going to read. Is loving commitment and compassion. And this is exactly what we needed from YaHuWaH in these times, in these times of testing, trials, is just to receive His loving commitment and compassion. And the most important thing we need to remember is that in order to receive those things is that we need to love Him. We need to seek His face continually. And He is so a lovely Father that He's always there waiting for us to come back to Him. And He's waiting for us with His arm wide open to receive us. But we need to be obedient, and we need to listen to His voice, and we need to serve Him, and we need to do it with all our heart. So we will see what the Ruach is bringing today. And again, this is just 21 verses. It's an interesting story that most probably you already remember. But we'll go into the details and we'll see what the Ruach of Elohim is bringing to our hearts. Okay, so remember, it is loving commitment and compassion. That's the title we were moved to pick. So as we always do, let me share this song with you before we move on to this portion. Unless you want to say something else?
No.
Okay, so let's do this.
משמיים נשכח
Okay, let's close our eyes and let's pray. YaHuWaH Elohim, we want to give thanks to you in this set apart day, in this new Shabbat, because you are giving us once again the opportunity to study your word and to seek your face, to seek for wisdom and understanding, because we know that both of them comes just from you and from you alone. We thank you, YaHuWaH, because once again you are giving us the means for serve you in this way, to have this gathering, this virtual gathering, where no matter where we are in this world, through this platform we can gather ourselves with the whole intention of our heart to know from you, know more from you, and know you more, to YaHuWaH. Thank you because you are the one who has guided us throughout all these years in your way, guiding our steps, guiding us in your way, YaHuWaH, in your way of righteousness, giving us the opportunity, YaHuWaH, to become part of your people Israel. And we know that the only way we are able to do so is through the offering of his own life, of your son Yahushua HaMashiach in the stake. Thank you, YaHuWaH, because you established that door for each one of us throughout the generations of this world. You have established your son, Yahushua, as the way back to you for all the generations of Israel. And we, this generation of Israel in this time, is seeking your face and giving you thanks, O YaHuWaH, from the heart, with gratitude, O YaHuWaH, because of each one of the opportunities you are giving us, because of that amazing salvation you have established for us. And we thank you, YaHuWaH, because despite the trials and tribulations and difficulties we have gone through in this journey, you have been beside us. You have been the one extending your hand in order to help us in this way, help us to walk, in order to give us the strength we need to continue pushing forward to our destiny, that is your kingdom here on earth. We invite you, YaHuWaH, in this moment. We invite that your presence be among us, in our hearts, that we can feel your touch in this moment. And we ask you, YaHuWaH, that you allow your Ruach HaKodesh to speak to us and through us, that you can open our eyes, our ears, and our understanding to your word, because we know that your word is truth, and the only thing we need in these times of deception is your truth, because in your truth is where we are going to be able to navigate these times that are so difficult. It's only with your truth and with the guidance of your Ruach HaKodesh is that we are going to be able to be established in your way without deviating to the right nor to the left. To the contrary, Yahweh, to continue walking straight forward, following the steps and the guidance of our Melech, our King Yahushua. We thank you, YaHuWaH, for your people in this group, because we are part of your big family, because you have deposited your love, your compassion, and your gratitude in each one of our hearts. And it's so beautiful to see, YaHuWaH, what you have done with each one of us. That even though that some of us, we don't know each other face to face, we can feel your love growing and growing by the day in our hearts. And we know that that time will come when we are going to be able to be all together in our journey back to your set apart city, Jerusalem. And that day is when your son Yahushua is coming back, who is going to send your messengers to gather us from the four corners of this world. And what a wonderful day will be. Our hope and expectation is in you, YaHuWaH, because it's only in that moment is when we're going to be able to say that we are finally free, that we are finally in your freedom, because you have gathered us from Babylon, from this world, from the system of this world, and bringing us back to you, to your kingdom. We thank you, YaHuWaH, for your presence, for your love, your compassion. We ask you, YaHuWaH, that you can be with us, with each one of us, helping us in our tribulations, in any type of difficulties we are going through. If somebody is going through diseases and trials, that you can be with them, O YaHuWaH. Strengthen our faith so we can trust in you all the time, not only in the good times, O YaHuWaH, but also on those times that we are being tested, so we can show and demonstrate to you and to us, not to anybody else, just to you and to us, that what is really in our hearts, that in our heart is your place. There is only you who is there. Give us that spirit, O YaHuWaH, and that strength and that heart, so we love you continually, every day and every moment of our lives. We thank you, YaHuWaH, for this moment and for this day, and we do it in the mighty name of your Son, Yahushua, your Messiah, our King and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
So most probably you notice that we are facing some difficulties, some technical difficulties, but hopefully things are going to work a little bit better now. But let's see. We pray to YaHuWaH that He is going to help us with all the technicalities here. So let me put the scripture in the screen, and we are going to do this.
Yeah.
Chapter 1 of the book of Daniel. Let's see what the word is bringing to us this day. And it says, in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And YaHuWaH gave Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, into his hand, with some of the utensils of the house of Elohim, which he brought to the land of Shinar, to the house of his mighty one. And he brought the utensils into the treasure house of his mighty one. And the sovereign said to Ashpenaz, the chief of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel, and some of the sovereign's descendants, and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good-looking, having insight in all wisdom, having knowledge and understanding, learning, capable to stand in the sovereign's palace, and to teach them the writing and speech of the Kastim. And the sovereign appointed for them a daily ration of the sovereign's food, and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end thereof they should stand before the sovereign. Now among them were from the sons of Yehuda, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And the chief of the eunuchs gave them names, for he called Daniel Belteshazzar, and Hananiah Shadrach, and Mishael Meshach, and Azariah Abednego. But Daniel laid it upon his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the sovereign's food, nor with the wine which he drank. So he asked from the chief of the eunuchs not to defile himself. And Elohim granted Daniel loving commitment and compassion from the chief of the eunuchs. But the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my master the sovereign, who has appointed you food and drink. For why should he see Why should he see your faces looking worse than the young men who are your age? Then you would make my head guilty before the sovereign. And Daniel said to the overseer, whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Your time.
Okay. Please try your servants for 10 days and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearances be examined before you, and the appearances of the young men who eat the portion of the sovereign's food. And do with your servant as you see fit. And he listened to them in this matter and tried them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their appearances looked better and fatter in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the sovereign's food. And it came to be that the overseer took away their portion of food and the wine they were to drink and gave them vegetables. As for these 4 young men, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. And at the end of the days, when the sovereign had said that they should be brought in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the sovereign spoke with them, and none among them all were found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they stood before the sovereign. And in any words of wisdom and understanding about which the sovereign examined them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians, the astrologers who were in all his reign. And Daniel continued until the first year of sovereign Koresh, Osiris.
Osiris,
Yeah.
correct. So that's chapter 1.
Yeah.
It's actually to the point and a specific story. And I think it's a very interesting way to start the entire book of Daniel and the entire story of Daniel.
Yeah.
Establishing what happened at the very beginning with him and how was his heart. I know you have some names to share, so
No,
I don't know. Go ahead.
because I always like to give the meaning of the names,
Okay.
because I think that always is bringing
I don't know.
something.
You want to do something? You do it now, or you want to comment something?
No, maybe
before?
so we can have them, because
Okay.
yeah. Well, we know that Daniel, the name is El is my judge, and Nebuchadnezzar, the name of the king, is may the prophet protect the crown. So, Nebo, but Nebo is prophet. And Jehoiakim, this king, the king that is reigning at that time, is YaHuWaH raises up. Yehuda, we know that is Yah be praised. Shinar is of 2 rivers. And the name of the chief of eunuchs, Ashpenaz, is greatly scattered. And then the names of the friends, Hananiah, Yah has favored, Mishael, who is what El is, Azariah, held by Yah, and Koresh is the possessor of the furnace. And then we have the name that they were translated. Daniel to Belteshazzar is like Bel is a deity that they have in that place. Baal, protector of the crown. Hananiah was changed to Shadrach, that means royal. Mishael, Meshach, that means guest of the king. And Azariah, Abednego, servant of Nego, that is meaning light, or something shiny. That is also a pagan
And in another
deity.
translation is a pagan deity as well.
Yeah.
So the entire story, and we see in the chapter 1 and verse 1 and 2, I mean, that basically Daniel was a part of the first exile. Jehoiakim was the first king that suffered. He was the one that rebelled from the Nebuchadnezzar. And if you go to the chart of kings that we shared a long time ago, you will see that Jehoiakim was the one that was appointed by the Necho, Pharaoh of Egypt. And he was king for 11 years in Jerusalem. And he was the one rebelling, the first one rebelling, being rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar. And because of that, this king of Babylon went there and produced the first exiled. And part of the people that was exiled, we see that Daniel was a part of it. I don't remember if Ezekiel was part of the first or the second, but they were contemporary, Daniel and Ezekiel. You can see that based on the kings that they were talking about. And for me, what's interesting in this whole story is that basically Daniel is telling all of this what happened to him from a position of slavery.
Yeah.
They were slaves once again. And most probably, when they were in Babylon, they were remembering or even reading what was the condition of Israel in Misraim before the first Exodus. And most probably they were praying to YaHuWaH to have this salvation, miraculous salvation, in the same way that he saved Israel, the first generation of Israel, out of Misraim. So everything that happened to Daniel, and that's why it's so important to put this in context on where he was and all the story. He was in Babylon. He wasn't in the land of Israel anymore. He was in the nations, part of the nations. And this is so important because it relates directly to the conditions we are today. It is written, and we having already studied the book of Jeremiah, Isaiah, and Ezekiel, and we know that in these last days we are under slavery. We are under the system of this world, the system of the beast. And in the system of the beast, the system of the world that was established from the very beginning, actually, and even in this book, we are going to read about this, beginning on the chapter 2, we know that we are in Babylon. All the prophets we have been studying so far are referring to the last empire as Babylon. If you remember, we studied this about in the book of Jeremiah and the book of Isaiah, and how this is directly connected to the book of Revelation, when YaHuWaH himself is crying out to his people saying, "Come out of her, my people. Come out of Babylon, my people." So you are not going to fall together with her because of her sins, and because of the punishment that is coming upon her. So that's why so in a way it's so beautiful to see that we can put ourselves somehow in the shoes of Daniel, in the condition that Daniel was, because he was as we are in Babylon. And by saying that, all the decisions, everything that Daniel does is so applicable to us with a more profound meaning. Because of the only fact that we recognize that we are in Babylon as well, it's pushing us a little bit more to adopt the same conditions and the same heart that Daniel is demonstrating in this short but so significant and meaningful story of the word. Okay, so we say in the verse 2 is how the system of the world has corrupted even the most apart things that are for the service in the temple of YaHuWaH. I'm talking about the utensils. Mm-hmm. And then for me, this is so relevant because we know that happened physically at that time. And even though that we are not in a physical Babylon today, maybe we can say it's a spiritual Babylon, though it's my belief that somehow in the system of the world that we are living today is a compilation of all the empires of the past. And that's why, what we'll see next week is revealing that truth to us. Just this passage, when we see that they took the utensils of the house of Elohim and they put it in the house of the Mighty One, we can see this somehow in a spiritual form happening. We can say that, even the message of Mashiach, the good news, have been distorted throughout history. How the most important things that came out of the mouth of the King of Kings and Adon HaAdonim, Lord of Lords, has been distorted, has been placed in the house of their mighty ones in order to bring deception, in order to bring lies, in order to confuse people. And this deception and confusion has been, put in place for so long and for so many years and thousands of years by the system of the beast, is that we should ourselves, that we are able to see with the different eyes, because YaHuWaH has awakened us to his truth because of his loving commitment and compassion toward us. We should feel ourselves with gratitude in our hearts, similarly to what happened to Daniel, that he was able, to see things with different eyes. And it's not because we are different, because we are special, no, because it's the hand of YaHuWaH working in each one of us. So, I just gave the example of the good news, but we see so many other things that have been corrupted in order to change the most important things that YaHuWaH has established. I just talk about the good news, but we can see the entire creation that has been corrupted in the same way that creation was corrupted before the flood. And we know that this is also a connection, a direct connection, with what happened with the system of the world, with Babylon and the empires of the past. And it's also exactly what's happening in our days with the influence of the Nephilim and the fallen angels, the Watchers. How they influence in the world in the past, corrupting everything and corrupting all the creations that YaHuWaH established from the very beginning, that was already in a fallen state because of what happened in the Garden of Eden. But anyway, he was taking care and he was somehow guiding righteous people until the point. But we know what happened in the world, that everything got corrupted. Everything was so corrupted, but that YaHuWaH, at that point, if you remember, he felt himself so bad that he created everything. He repented somehow of creating man because of everything that was happening. So why I'm going so back in the word? Because again, we see repetitive patterns that happen, because of the influence of the evil one, the trier one, and also the influence of the Nephilim and the evil spirits that happened in the past. And it's been always happening, even in the story that we see over here, when they took the utensils of the house of Elohim in order to corrupt them with the worship and the idolatrous worship to the mighty ones of Babylon. And it's exactly the same thing that's happening today when we see the mixed worship to YaHuWaH. So once again, I think this story, from my point of view, is so relevant for all of us today. We need to see it with those eyes, that we are somehow reliving the same things that Daniel went through.
Somehow we are, if they were chosen among the people who were picked, because the sovereign gave that instruction, bring some children of Israel, bring it says some of the sovereign's descendants, and also some of the nobles and people who are good looking. So we can say, okay, we are good looking at the eyes of YaHuWaH, but that they want to learn, and they have some talents, they have some skills. So we have the duty of keep that also in the way that we are living. We have to have a teachable heart. We have to want to learn things. We have to have that desire that Daniel has. And it says that he put his heart in order not to be defiled. And it's the same that we have to do. Maybe we are going to be here in the place that is completely polluted, is completely defiled at the eyes of YaHuWaH and everybody. But even though we are living in this place, we cannot mix, we cannot be transformed, we cannot let that sin be part of us. We have to do all our effort to keep us set apart for Him. Even though we are being set in the wrong place, even though we are going to be among the filthiness, we have to keep ourselves clean for our King. And that is the most important thing, is beginning that desire from our hearts.
Mm-hmm. So if we continue, in the next verses, and I was thinking on the same, we are so beautiful that we have been chosen somehow.
Yeah.
We are good looking. All of us. That again, we can see these things on the to understand somehow Daniel, to know him better, to know what was happening also on that time. But at the same time, we can see us on those descriptions as well. What I'm talking about, they were being selected, and with the people that they already have some kind of knowledge and understanding that they were capable. But what was the purpose that were being chosen? In order to teach them the writing and the speech of the Kasdim. So from in one point, we understand that the Daniel and all these young men of Yehuda with his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they were taught on the ways of the Kasdim. They knew how to speak the language. They knew how to write and read the language. And most probably they knew their culture, their history, and they were taught in their books. They had the knowledge and the wisdom of the Kasdim. So when we see Daniel later on, it's much easy to understand how he was being considered a wise man, because for sure YaHuWaH was with him, but he received all the training. It's interesting to see in the verse 5 that this training period, it wasn't like they were kind of an admission test. They were to college somehow, the college of the Kasdim, and they had 3 years training. 3 years training of dedication in order to receive all this knowledge of that system, of that culture. Now, how we can see us in that place is exactly what happening to us. If we truly believe that we are part of the kingdom of YaHuWaH, that our language should be different, is the language of the kingdom. We know that we are part of a different system. We have been trained in a different system. We know how this different system works because we have received all the knowledge and the wisdom from the system. We have been going to school. We have been receiving all this material. No matter that maybe we have different languages because we are living in different places. In the place we live, we have received all this training throughout so many years. We can call it sometimes indoctrination of the system of this world. That is exactly what was intended and what happened to Daniel and to his friends. They were being chosen in order to stand in the palace of the king. Maybe we have not been chosen to stand in the palace of the king, but somehow by receiving all this training, and how the system of the world works, it is pushing us to receive all this education system in order to participate in this economy, in order to participate in the way of living on this world. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Unfortunately, this is the system. This is the way that the system works. So if we are not receiving education, if we don't learn some skills, it's so difficult to get part of the system and to get some income. But somehow we can see that through that system, that's through that education system, there is so much indoctrination in order to change people's mind. Do you think that Nebuchadnezzar had the idea to serve the Elohim of the heavens and the earth? He selected Daniel, Mishael, Azariah, and Hananiah for them to share the knowledge of YaHuWaH, Sebaot. I don't think so. He wanted to prepare them, indoctrinate them in the culture of the Kasdim. He wanted to grow them up on the system of the Kasdim. And it's exactly what we see happening in our days. And unfortunately, it's a sad thing to say, is that the way that the system works today is even more bad and more complicated, especially for the youngest generation, that they're receiving such a bad education, such a bad, and worse indoctrination. That is not, if in the past we're limiting the capacity to at least to understand that, and to question how the world works, how creation works. Today, that the little door of questioning things that existed in the past is not anymore. Especially, through technology, kids are so, how to say, immersed in this system and education of this on the knowledge of this world, and the knowledge that the evil spirits are pushing forward. So once again, we can see us on what happened with all of them. And one important thing, and we can see as a normal behavior, because it's like a prisoner in this case, that they receive this daily ration of food and wine in order to keep them. They were in college, and it was an all-inclusive college.
Yeah.
And they received all the food and all the drink. And I think this was the first test, part of the first test that they needed to go through.
Yeah.
Something you want to add?
I don't know what they have been offered, so that they could, I imagine that it could be maybe things that we shouldn't eat, that we shouldn't drink, and maybe because of that reason, Daniel was thinking, no, it's better that I'm going to go for the safe, and I'm going to go for the basic. And we know that the first things that Abba was putting in this place for us as food, it was vegetable and it was water. And if we are thinking, because it was not corrupted, and it was not, it was with all the minerals and everything that he put on them. And I think that Daniel must have, he maybe saw that something was not okay. So he decided to do this bold request, but it was a bold request, but with respect. It was not an imposition. It was not denying, I'm not going to eat anything, I'm going to refuse to. No, he was asking an option.
Yeah.
And then the chief of the eunuch was debating with him. But why? Because, for them, for their custom, to their eyes, you're going to be maybe more weak, and it's going to be all the responsibility on me. And I'm going to be the one that is going to be questioned if you are going to be weak, because you have to look very good for the king. And then he said this, try, give us these 10 days that we can try this option that I know that is going to be good for us. And then, depending on the result, you can see if you continue or you not continue. So he was like wise. I think that he was evaluating everything that he was, that the surrounding, everything that he was being offered. And then he made this decision. He made this proposal. So in thinking about the vegetables and about the water that are basic, So we have to go to the basic food. And if we are speaking about the spiritual things, about the ruach, that we have to go and to look for the pure food that is coming from our Abba. And if we can see how Mashiach was doing when he was even fasting, and he was saying that the man is not going to survive only by the bread, but it's going to be by every word of YaHuWaH. So he was selecting the most pure stuff, or the most pure food that he could have at that moment. And I think that we have to do the same. Maybe we are going to be offer a lot of delicacies and things very strange that maybe are going to call our attention because of the colors and the strange preparation, but it's not for us. So we have to be like Daniel in that case, to go for the pure and the most nutrition, the one that has more nutrients for us.
Good. One additional thing I wanted to mention, and then I will comment on what you said, is that we need to be ready for any circumstance. You know, we are, as being in Babylon, we are being surrounded by servants of the king of Babylon, as in this case, the chief of the eunuchs. And we can be selected in order, and we can be brought to kings and important peoples of the system of the world. In this case, these 4 young men were selected in order to stand in the sovereign palace, you know, where the politicians and the authority of the kingdom were all the time. So we should be always ready, and we have so many scriptures in the word of YaHuWaH that is speaking about that we need to be always ready to speak about our faith, our belief. We should not compromise what we really believe, our true identity, no matter where we are. Even if we are going to be in front of kings, even if we are going to be in front of the authorities of this world, we can never compromise what we have believed. And this is exactly what we see in the example of Daniel. He was put under the test because he was, you know, in slavery. He was chosen to be before the king that was responsible to conquer his land and to take all of them as slaves to Babylon. He could be totally afraid of not receiving instruction or not to fully follow everything that was being requested to him. But he says, I'm serving a being that is more important to any person on this world. And I'm not going to compromise myself and my belief because fear or because of man. Because I'm going to fear the one that is able to kill my body and my spirit in Gehenna, using the words of Mashiach. I'm not going to fear those that are going to kill my body only. Because I have, you know, that faith that even if they are going to kill me now, even they are going to treat me bad now, I'm going to receive a reward later on when he's going to give me life back again. So I think this is a very important example, is that we are living in the Babylon of today. We can be selected in order to be in front of authorities, in our jobs, in any situations of this world, is that we cannot change our identity. And one of the first things that they try to do, as we see here, is to change their identity. You know, we have been saying and looking into different stories in this new cycle, especially in the prophets, how in order to position authority over the people, they were changing names. It happened to the kings, And now it's happening to these 4 young men. I cannot imagine what was the age of Daniel, Hananiah. You know, when I was reading this, I thought maybe they were teenagers. But maybe they were in their 20s, because if they were teenagers, they needed to have, you know, the approval of the parents, but they were in slavery. I don't know. Maybe they were in their 20s or something like that. But the first thing that they tried to do to these young men that were, you know, just beginning, maybe their adulthood, is to change their identity. And if we allow this to happen, to change our true identity, we are going to compromise. We are going to compromise what we have decided in our heart, and the invitation, this open invitation that YaHuWaH has put in front of us with love and compassion, to be part of his kingdom, to be his children, to receive our true identity in him. And you know, that change is not going to happen only with a change of name. They can change our names. They can call us differently. The true change is going to happen inside, if we allow that change to happen, if we compromise. So the important message for me here is that the enemy will try to distort our identity all the time. They will try to indoctrinate us in mixing what is set apart with what is wrong, what is idolatrous. They will try to mislead us to forget our true identity in YaHuWaH, and he will try to push us to defile ourselves with the things of this world. And that's why, you know, what we see here happening with Daniel, and it's so relevant. And let me highlight this phrase, because this is the way we need to do it. It says Daniel laid it upon his heart that he would not defile himself. It's a decision of the heart. Yeah. If our heart is wrong, we are going to get defiled. Our identity is going to change. We are going to receive the indoctrination of this world because our heart is not right. But if we lay it upon our hearts that we are not going to compromise, that no matter what the system of the world try to say, no matter what the system of the beast try to do with us, if we really know in our hearts who we really are and who we really serve and what is our true identity, we are not going to compromise. But it's and it goes beyond that, because it's an attitude. It's an attitude, it's a condition of the heart that no matter who is in front of me, is to get rid of the fear that what's going to be the consequences of not compromising. Because, you know, I can know who I am in YaHuWaH. I can know that I'm a slavery. I can know in my heart that I don't want to defile myself, but if I'm weak in spirit, because I am afraid of what's going to happen to me, and my fear is more to the system of the beast and the system of the world, and the authority of this earth, more than the fear and the reverence of YaHuWaH, I can know everything. I can know who I am, but anyways, I'm going to fall into the trap because of fear. And this is exactly what, you know, we see happening in the next verse. So it's so important that we remind ourselves all the time. And that's why it's so important what I said at the beginning, that we can relate and we can see ourselves in this story of Daniel, because we are in Babylon as well as he was in Babylon, is that we should be strong in the Ruach of Elohim in our hearts in order not to compromise, and also in order to understand and to remember all the time what is our true identity in YaHuWaH. If we do the two things, you know, the people around us can do whatever they want, The system of the world can do whatever they want with us, but we have nothing to fear because we know that we belong to the maker of the heavens and the earth. Because we have the confidence and the faith in our heart that if we trust and we decide for Him and not for the world, He will be with us and He will take care of us. I will see later on what happened with the four of them or the three of them in the coming stories. So this, I think, for me, this is the most important message from this passage, is acquiring the attitude and the heart of Daniel. Acquiring that attitude, that decision, that strength for Daniel, that we are always going to decide for YaHuWaH, not even for ourselves. We are always going to decide for Him and to serve Him, and we are going to fear Him and not the system of the world. Okay? Now, you mentioned about food. You mentioned about defilement. Most probably, Daniel, he was a young man with knowledge and understanding. He knew Torah. And most probably what they put in front of him was the defiled food. Yeah. Was abomination. Maybe there was a food that he was unable to eat. Maybe there was a pork or whatever other type of meat that he was unable to eat. Maybe he knew that everything that they were setting in front of him was offered to the idols, because that was the way it was in the past. They were doing sacrifice to the idols, and we can read about this in the book of Acts. What happened, in the letters of Paul, that he was speaking about that. Maybe all of that was offered to the idols, and he was not going to defile himself with idolatry. That was the decision he made. And he was able to understand that, if he was going to participate in all of this, he was going to defile himself. The only way he was able to understand that, in order to make that decision, to have that discernment, is because he had knowledge in the Torah of YaHuWaH. Besides, the attitude and the strength in order to say no. He had the knowledge on the Torah of YaHuWaH. And we can say that we also have the knowledge. YaHuWaH has been instructing us, removing all the indoctrination we have received throughout years, and He has given us this gift of His truth, the truth of His word, in order to have the proper discernment that for sure is going to be guided by the Ruach of Elohim working with us, because it's the Ruach of Elohim, the one that is going to remember and remind us of every word that is written in His word. But, we need to do the effort in order to learn, and we have been learning throughout the years. We need to keep all this instruction fresh in our mind, in our spirits. So in that way, we are going to be able to discern everything that we are going through. If we are being put under the test. If we are going to say no, because we are not going to compromise, or even to discern if we are going through having an issue of the heart. And I'm not talking about the physical issue. I'm talking about a spiritual issue of the heart. That maybe even though that we have the knowledge and we are being, reminded by the Ruach of Elohim that what is happening around us, if we participate, we are going to be defiled. Maybe we are so weak because we have an issue of the heart that we decide to compromise. Even in those things, we need the knowledge of the word of YaHuWaH, in the guidance of the Ruach of Elohim, in order to have the discernment, even to discern our own attitudes, even to discern our own hearts. So, they put something that was against Torah. Now, one additional thing I wanted to mention, and this is something for me so I think important, critical to keep in mind. There are certain patterns in the scripture, and here I see an additional pattern. Is that beside everything we have, in addition to everything we have been mentioning so far about, the indoctrination they wanted to put, the change of identity they wanted to do with them, the first thing that the devil is testing Daniel is with food. And
So if you go to the beginning,
if we go to the beginning, in the
that.
Garden of Eden, is exactly that. Is the Nahash first talking, seeding doubt, and using food to defile. The same thing we see here with Daniel, and with Yahushua we see exactly the same. When he was tried in the wilderness, he was when he was hungry. The first thing that the devil tried to seed the doubt on him, transform this rock in bread, using food in order to attack the children of Elohim. And we can say with the 200% certainty, and we have been exchanging some of this information with Camila. My apologies, Camila, that I'm so delayed on answering your emails, but I will do. And Lilian has been reminding me about that. And I think it's important, especially because of what you told us. We can say with 200% certainty that the evil spirits and the system of this world is using food in order to bring defilement on the people of Elohim, in order to bring deception, and in order to bring death. Food is something that is being used for decades in order to bring so much diseases on the people of this world that unfortunately, together with the indoctrination that is being used in order to push people to consume people that are defiled and are not good for the body, for the temple of the Ruach of Elohim, people are getting sick. So important that we identify, without going into the details about what should be a proper diet or what we should eat and so on, even though we see here a kind of an example of what we should do. The first thing that we need to realize is that we see this pattern of the evil one using food in order to bring sin on the people, in order to bring defilement. It happened to YaHuWaH, to Adam. He wanted to do it with Daniel, and he tried to do it with Mashiach. We have 3 witnesses. So how come we are not going to realize that the devil is using exactly the same tactics today? Maybe he's pushing forward this agenda in a different way in our modern day, but he's using exactly the same. So if we are wise enough, and if we allow the Ruach of Elohim to open our eyes, our understanding, so we receive the wisdom of YaHuWaH, we will be able to discern by the knowledge on the word of YaHuWaH, to understand that he's using food once again in order to bring defilement, diseases, and death. So we should ask ourselves, okay, what I'm eating? What are the food that I'm allowing to get in to the door of this temple? One of the doors of this temple, that is my mouth, that is becoming part of my system. It's becoming part of this temple at the end. Because it's going to become part of our bloodstream, everything that we put in our mouth. We are going to become what we eat. So it's so important that by realizing just tiny but so important detail, we should be so wise to do a complete analysis, being guided by the Ruach of Elohim, to see what we are eating. what is the food we are consuming, and doing the same research directly on the word of YaHuWaH to decide any change we need to do to our diet. Because all the truth we find it in the word of YaHuWaH. I was looking for my scripture. I'm going to use yours.
Sorry.
Find it in the word of YaHuWaH. Okay? Go ahead.
Yeah. When you were talking about that it was his decision, if he was Daniel who was deciding to put YaHuWaH first, he was only afraid, or he was only respecting what he has always received from YaHuWaH. He was the number one. No matter he was going to be presented before a king, the king was another person. And you were saying this, that we don't have to be afraid of somebody, even though their title, anything. And we can know that because of that choice that Daniel did, the father was doing a work in the heart of the eunuchs, the chief of the eunuch. He was the one. It says in the 9, and Elohim granted Daniel's loving commitment and compassion from the chief of the eunuchs. Because why? Because it was YaHuWaH who is the only one who can touch a heart and make it soft. It was YaHuWaH who touched a heart and make it harden in the case of Pharaoh. So if we are going to be in a situation where we are going to be put in two positions, and what I like about that, it was a previous name, I don't remember, it was Shiner, that it means two rivers, two waters. Sometimes in a lot of situations that we have, a lot of trials that we have, is because we are always dealing in two options. So we always have to put our first option, YaHuWaH, and then he's going to make our path clear. He is going to do the rest of the work. He's going to soften any rock. He's going to elevate a place if it's needed, or he's going to make it low if it's needed too. So I was thinking about that.
In the same way that, you know, the king of Babylon was using his servants in order to do his will, if we decide, as you said, for YaHuWaH, YaHuWaH is in control of everything. Yeah. You know, he can harden the heart or he can soften the heart.
Yeah.
So, and it's so beautiful. It was, he will do it as a second step. The first step, it needs to be done by us.
Yeah.
So it was the decision of Daniel to decide for YaHuWaH first, not compromise. And YaHuWaH immediately, because of his love and compassion, he
made the way.
He opened the door. He touched the heart and softened the heart of the chief of the eunuchs in order to have this loving commitment and compassion for Daniel. But we see, you know, what's the reaction, and that's why it's so important. And what I said before, it could be Daniel the one saying this thing. It was the chief of the eunuchs, even though that he felt this compassion and this loving kindness, loving commitment, being because of the touch of YaHuWaH.
He was worried.
He was afraid. I fear my master the sovereign, who has appointed you food and drink. For why should he see your faces looking worse than the young men who are your age? Then you should make my head guilty before the sovereign. So he was saying, I'm going to die. You know, I understand you, Daniel. I understand you, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. I want to help. But if I do so, I'm going to be killed. And not only me, most probably he was saying, it's not written here, they were going to be killed as well because of disobedience. But you know, Daniel was so established on the rock and in the truth of his Elohim that he didn't fear Nebuchadnezzar. He didn't fear the Babylonians. He knew that YaHuWaH was with him. And this is exactly what he tried to say to the overseer. So if we continue, he was saying, please try your servants for 10 days and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. So I think that's the wisdom of YaHuWaH. He's the one through the Ruach putting the words in our mouth. How to manage fear, how to manage fearful people. You know, and you most probably you have been going through these situations and moments of fear. We can strengthen ourselves and decide not to fall into the hands of fear. But even though that we do things, we have this feeling inside of us, sometimes we are afraid. But as I said a long time ago, I don't remember even what was the phrase, is that fear plus action is, I don't remember the word. But you know what fear does? It's frozen us. It's put us on hold, not to move into action. If we decide to move into action, basically, we are becoming courageous. That's a word. What is courage? It's fear plus action. Because even though that we are moving ahead, not being trapped by fear, we're going to have the feeling here. But we should not allow that feeling to stop us, to do what we have to do. The scripture says that we need to be strong and courageous. Don't you think that maybe, Joseph ben Nun and Caleb, when they saw these big giants, they were feeling these butterflies in their stomachs, because they was the first time that they were encountering those big guys. How I'm going to defeat them? Maybe they have some moments of doubt, but they didn't fall into the trap of the fear. They decided they changed their way of they changed their mind and their way of thinking. And that's the inner dialogue, the battle in our minds, is that we should not allow the fear to take hold of us. We should fight the fear back by the word of Elohim. This is exactly what Yahushua did in the wilderness. He was using the word of Elohim, the word of YaHuWaH, in order to fight back, to fight the spiritual battle, to defeat fear with words. Because of fear, what happened, when we are going through situations of fear, we have these thoughts, these words, these questions, these doubts that are coming to the heart and to the mind. That's the battle of the mind. And we need this in a spiritual battle. We need to fight that battle in a spiritual way. So, in the same way, we see if people around us are falling into the trap of fear, we need to be guided by the Ruach of Elohim in order to help them in the same way that Daniel did here. Let's do this. Let's do a test for 10 days. And then we decide what to do. What will happen, is like a miracle. Some people need visible testimonies of things.
Yeah, like a result.
They need to see things in order to believe. And we are going to judge those people. Did Daniel judge the chief of the eunuchs because he was so afraid? Not at all. He was feeling compassion in the same way that Daniel saw that YaHuWaH was using him to have compassion of Daniel and his friends. Daniel also was having compassion, understanding that what was going through his heart and his mind, and he was helping him in order to get rid of the fear. And he knew that the only way this person, because maybe that was the Ruach of Elohim working with Daniel, the only way this person was able to get rid of fear is by seeing. That's why Yahushua also brought all these miracles and healings, because it was through those miracles and healings that the people believed more, because they were able to see with their own eyes. That's why, we are more blessed somehow that we are able to believe without seeing. And we talked about that a few weeks ago, is that, we have not seen Mashiach face to face. And we are even more blessed for that, because even not seeing him face to face yet, we're able to believe in him and what he has done and what he's doing. Okay, so when I saw the 10 days, I immediately
Look for some references about the 10.
connected the 10, with what is written in the book of Revelation chapter 2. And somehow it's interesting. Somehow it's interesting what we said for the assembly of Smyrna. This is the first and the last in the chapter 2, verse 8. Who became dead and came to life. I know your works and pressure and poverty. Yet you are rich, and the blasphemy of those who say they are Yahudim and are not, but are a congregation of Satan. Do not be afraid of what you are about to suffer. See, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison in order to try you, and you shall have pressure 10 days. Be trustworthy until death, and I shall give you the crown of life. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to assemblies. He who overcomes shall by no means be harmed by the second death. And I think it's so beautifully connected to what we are seeing here. Is fear, is overcoming, is to endure until the end. It's exactly what we see in the example of Daniel. It's the heart of Daniel. And the word, and it's written here, is going to be a test of 10 days. Is the same. I cannot see a connection. It's also Daniel offering a 10 days test in order to remove the fear of the chief of the eunuchs.
And I don't remember, but I have heard that our body is being renewed every different kind of cycles. So even our cells are not the same. So every time we have some monthly cycles, we have some weekly cycles and things like that. And I think that Daniel somehow knew that when he was going to start a cycle, maybe the best point that he was going to get is going to be at those 10 days. Like here, that it says, it's like a renew, but you're going to get life. It's like a renewal. So maybe it has something to do with that. So,
it's in my heart that we are going to be under test. I saw your comment, Karen. It's been a long 10 days. That's true. But I think we are heading to a period of test that is going to be significant. And most probably that's why so relevant. Everything we are analyzing in this chapter 1 of the book of Daniel is that we need to be ready with the proper heart to the test that is coming ahead. In order to make the right decisions, in order not to compromise. I can tell you, and at the same time, I have to ask for your prayers, because Lilian and I, we are at the beginning a new phase of test that we don't know what's coming ahead. And we are just relying on YaHuWaH, what's his will and his purpose for the two of us. And it's a new cycle, so keep us in your prayers, because we are being tested in a unique way. We can say that we were not expecting to happen, at least not that soon. And even we were talking with some friends on the Thursday about that. Is that it's been in my heart that soon, very soon, I think we will have some important trials. So we need to be ready for those times.
Yeah.
And that's why, when I see this message here, I think YaHuWaH is speaking to the two of us. And I think for all of us is that we need to check our hearts. We need to check our hearts, that our hearts are faithful to Him. So even though that we have to go through difficulties, that we as a set, we are not going to compromise. That we cannot do that. And we know it's just a matter to see what's going on in the world. We have this feeling that something is going to happen. So just let me give you a fictitious that it maybe is not it's not going to be a fictitious one, but it's going to become a reality maybe. Can you imagine what would happen if the financial system of this world, in the way that the financials of this world change from one day or the other, and money doesn't is useless from one day to the other? And as part of this big change, in order to receive any income, or in order to receive a daily ration, we need to compromise certain things. It could happen. I don't know, you have been looking into the news, but there's a whole push to change the financial system, and that could end up in a big disaster. So it could happen at any moment. You know what's happening with artificial intelligence, and you know, many voices saying that it's going to displace many jobs. So what will happen? You know, what's going to be our decision? Those situations are going to put us under the huge test. It's going to reveal what is truly in our hearts. If we are going to rely 100%, 200%, 1,000% in YaHuWaH, acknowledging that He is the maker of the heavens and the earth, that He is in control of everything, reminding ourselves and recognizing that He is the one opening and closing doors, or we are going to fall into fear of what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's why I do believe that this passage is so relevant. It's giving each one of us a powerful example of what should be our attitude. What is the attitude of a children of Elohim, a child of Elohim, facing tests, facing trials, facing persecution, and even facing the risk of death and the fear of death. So let's prepare our hearts, because we don't know what this 2026 can bring. We don't know what's coming ahead in the coming years. We don't know even what's going to happen tomorrow, not even in a moment from now. So that's why it's so important that we are all the time prepared, checking and testing our heart, making sure that our heart is for YaHuWaH all the time. Okay? So they were eating vegetables and drinking water, not wine. And he listened to them in this matter and tried them 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their appearance looked better and fatter in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the sovereign food. So, as you said?
As I said, the vegan diet is going to make you
fat. So if we eat 2 veggies, we are going to get fat. Could be. Could be.
I don't know. No, but it was funny when I read it in that way.
Yeah. So, what else we have here?
Yeah. Elohim gave them knowledge and skill, learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all vision and dreams. Remember that? And you were looking for some stuff about Daniel. I know, but it was at the yeah. Because we know that he was then in the coming stories that he was.
Now I remember. Man. Yes. Yeah, I was telling Lillian, I read a long time ago that some people, I think it's not easy to confirm if this is true or not, but I'm going to share it anyways. That Daniel was educated on the system of the Kasdim. And as we will see later on in the coming chapters, he was appointed as the chief of the magicians, the astrologers, the wise men. So he was the chief of the Magi's. And there are the few people that believe that the Magi's that came from the east, looking for following the star of Bethlehem, looking for the king that was born, as we read in the Good News in the New Testament. Somehow, how they were able to, how they knew about this prophecy, how they had this information about this start, about the upcoming of Mashiach. It's because they belong to somehow the teachings, or they were instructed by the teachings in what was so called the school of Daniel in the East. So there are few people that believe, and it's a maybe. That would be a beautiful thing that, sometimes we should think beyond how those guys that were called Magi's, because they had wisdom, they were wise men.
Wise men.
They had this information about the prophecies of Torah, the prophecies of the word of YaHuWaH. And we see the connection. Yeah, Daniel was the chief of the wise men. Could be that maybe Daniel was serving the purpose of YaHuWaH, not serving the purposes of Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar, the first purpose was to instruct them in the ways of the Kastim, but YaHuWaH had a different plan. And actually, Daniel was instructing all of them, even the king, as we will see later on the ways of YaHuWaH. And that should be our attitude as well.
That we can change a complete scenario around us.
Because of the faithfulness of Daniel, he was able to change even a person of trust of the king, the chief of the eunuchs. Change his heart. And can you imagine, it's not written here, but can you imagine what was the feeling of this guy, the chief of the eunuchs, when after the 10 days, when he saw that, they were looking even better than the rest? Wow. It was a miracle somehow.
Yeah.
So it's not written here, but maybe he believed somehow even more than Daniel and in the Elohim of Daniel. So who is the one providing and giving knowledge and understanding and wisdom? Is Elohim. It's the same thing that, if we are missing any skill, it says skill here. If we are missing any knowledge, if we are missing or we want to learn any wisdom, are we going to go to Google, to ChatGPT, to Copilot, to any artificial intelligence?
No.
Or are we going to put our face down and cry out to YaHuWaH and to ask him to give us the skill?
He's the one who give it. And it says without limitation. If you ask from your heart. In Yaakov it says that.
Exactly. What happens that sometimes we are so a condition of this time is that we are so desperate for things to happen immediately, and we cannot pretend that Elohim is going to answer it and work in that way. He has his times. So we need to cry out, but we need to be patient. We need to develop that patience that he will provide if it's for a good purpose, and he will provide in the right time. Sometimes it's immediately, other times it's not. I still remember so many moments and experiences when I have been working in the Microsoft Excel with the spreadsheets and things like that. And I don't know how to do something. And somehow, without, suddenly, I have this
guidance, invisible guidance. Yeah.
And I do it without knowing what I'm doing, and it's a solution.
Yeah.
And in many other situations and so on, we decided to build, to begin this construction project in our property in the south of our country.
With zero experience.
I had just theory and some practice because of my dad. He was teaching me things, but but not real on-the-job experience. And we did it. And actually, I remember my dad talking to my daughter once when we were there, and he was using me as an example on what should be our attitude when we want to develop the gifts of the Ruach of Elohim. Is that we need to be brave enough in order to move into action, even though that we can fail, even though that maybe it's not going to work. And he was using me as an example that he didn't know that I have these abilities, these skills, that even though that he was saying I was brave enough in order to take all the tools, the hammer, and I have all the tools necessary, and to start building. And and actually we have been witness of ourselves that we have been improving
with
by
time.
with time. At the beginning it wasn't that good, and now it's improving more. I can tell Lillian at the beginning was so fearful that I was going to cut some piece of wood and the entire house was going to fall down. And I was telling her, don't be afraid. Trust me. And I didn't know I know what I was going to do, but I never did it in my life. Again, this is the same thing in the spiritual. It's the same thing in the spiritual that, and it's the same thing that we see here happening in this story. That even though we don't know what's going to be the end result, we have this certainty within ourselves that we are being guided somehow, that we have this certainty, this knowledge inside of us, and we don't know why and how, and because we have it, we do it. And if it failed, it failed. We will try again. And if it works, it's giving us additional confidence that we are receiving the skills that YaHuWaH is providing to us, because all the knowledge, the skills, and the wisdom are coming from Him. And even the understanding of visions and dreams that are so important, because He's talking to us in visions and dreams. What else?
That they were and at the end
after the 3 years they were brought to the king.
Brought finally to the king,
to the final test. It's like the admission test for college. And that's why they were not instructed only, as I was sharing with you, on the learning how to write, how to read, how to speak.
Something more complete.
More complete, because he was it says the sovereign spoke with them, and none among them all were found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they stood before the sovereign, and in any word of wisdom and understanding about which the sovereign examined them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians, astrologers who were in all his reign. So, in all the knowledge that was poured into their minds during these 3 years, and most probably it was in different domains, in different areas of study, the king was testing them in each one of them, and they passed. And that should give us an additional certainty, is that if we are with YaHuWaH, and we are still in slavery, and we are in front of authorities or people that want to put us under the test, if we trust in Him, He is going to be the one providing the knowledge, the skills, the wisdom, the understanding in order to pass the test. It's exactly as Yahushua was telling the disciples, don't even worry on what you are going to say, because it's going to be the Ruach of Elohim, the one putting the words in your lips and in your hearts. So I think that's the most important skill we need to develop, is trust, is the confidence, is the faith that if we are for YaHuWaH, He will be for us. And once again, things are coming ahead. We are getting out of time in order to learn these skills. I do believe that we will see wonderful things happening as things are starting to heat up even more. And we are going to be able to see those wonderful things, manifestation of the wisdom, the knowledge, and the miracles and the power of the Ruach of Elohim working through us. But we have only one condition, is that we decide for YaHuWaH. We decide not to compromise. We decide not to fear men. We decide to fear all the time in reverence to YaHuWaH, the Elohim, the maker of the heavens and the earth. If we do so, we will see his mighty hand working with each one of us. And even though if we have to go through even more persecution, even to death, we have nothing to fear, because we know that the moment that Yahushua is coming, if we have been faithful till the end, we are going to come back to life once again in an incorruptible body. So why to fear? Maybe is if that's the final test, we need to be prepared for that. Mashiach was prepared for that. He knew that he was going to die. So he was not afraid. Yeah, he suffered at the end. But he knew that he needed to do it because of a bigger purpose. So we need to be ready for anything that's coming ahead. Trusting in YaHuWaH all the time and decided for him all the time.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't know. I think that you have said everything today.
So-
No, in a good way.
Ah.
Yeah, with a good spirit, the Ruach. I was feeling that he was speaking through you and giving us a lot of understanding, and our focus to be always put in our Creator, our Elohim. And he's the one who's going to deliver us from any trial. And as you said, if we made already the decision before, it's going to be even easier if we already did it, and if we are not waiting until the moment of trial, if we already made that decision today, that anything that is going to come, it doesn't matter, because YaHuWaH is going to be the provider of my help. He's going to be the one who is going to lift me up from any problem, from any place that I have fallen. I don't know. As
Good.
always. Yeah.
Good. I think it's been a beautiful way to begin this new cycle in Daniel. And we need to keep everybody
Yeah.
in our prayers. All of us are going through trials and testing, so keep in mind everyone here in this group and this family.
And if you know
also-
somebody also from outside and
Yeah.
anybody else. Yeah.
Yes. So, and also the entire people of YaHuWaH in this generation. We all need prayers in these times in order to have the proper heart and a truthful heart as we talk.
Yeah. Pray also for Petey from Rise on Fire, because he was preaching about this. It was like at the beginning of the year, and then 2 days later he was suffering from an accident. He's recovering. Of course, YaHuWaH has been healing him in a mighty way, and he was also convinced that it's not only him, it's a lot of children of YaHuWaH who was passing through this trial. So if we are suffering different kind of trials, we can be sure that the rest of the family is doing the same as well. So we have to keep everybody in our prayers. So we have to do that.
Yes, absolutely. So having said that, thank you so much for joining us today. As I said, keep us in your prayers as well. And let's also always hope in YaHuWaH, trust in him that he is in our side. We have nothing to fear, that he is the one providing everything to our needs. And the most important, that he is the one helping us in order to endure until the end.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. YaHuWaH be with you all. Keep enjoying your Shabbat, and hope to see you next week.
Yeah.
Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.
Bye. Shabbat Shalom.
אנו קוראים לך ישוע, 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 ישוע. היום הזה אנו קוראים לך יביע, יום ליום ליום יביע, ולילה ללילה. השמיים מספרים כבוד ומעשה ידיו הרקיע, יום ליום ליום יביע, ולילה ללילה. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והיגיון ליבי לפניך, יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והיגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי, אדוני צורי וגואלי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. והוא כחתן יוצא מחופתו יסיס כגיבור, והוא כחתן יוצא מחופתו יסיס כגיבור, הוא כחתן יוצא, כחתן יוצא מחופתו יסיס כגיבור, והוא כחתן יוצא מחופתו יסיס כגיבור, 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 כגיבור. ישוע, אנו קוראים לך ישוע, אנו קוראים לך ישוע, אנו קוראים לך ישוע. כאן מירושלים,
כאן בהר ציון,
כאן מעמך היהודי, אנו קוראים לך
ברוך הבא בשם אדוני ישוע.
בשם אדוני, ברוך הבא בשם אדוני, ברוך הבא בשם אדוני, ברוך הבא בשם אדוני,
וזה מלך לכבוד,
ברוך הבא בשם אדוני,
וזה מגיע,
ברוך הבא בשם אדוני,
הנה מהר ציון,
ברוך הבא בשם אדוני. בשם אדוני צווי, אדוני צווי וגואלי, 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 אדוני צווי וגואלי.